All right. Should be good. Let's see how it goes.
I see no differences so far. Again, not surprising though.
Yeah, pretty typical stuff. And let's see. Ooh, interesting. Sanguine Tigers is actually moving around the end of the radio tower with that lead lance. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't think there's anything good out there. They're... Wow. Well, this is certainly... Oh, I know what they're going to... They're going to try to climb up on the hill around the back of the Black Spikes. They're going to try to take the flanking position to get onto the H11, I11 hill. And if they don't get spotted, they can get away with this. But they don't have any ECM with that.
They're already shooting.
Probably... Yeah, they've given away their position. I don't think that...
Wait, it doesn't really matter. Actually, come to think of it, they could get up on top of the hill faster than Morse can actually respond to it. Especially now with some of their guys already on top of that hill. I don't think they can actually do anything to stop
I think you're right. I think they've already overcommitted. So they're going to get the higher position. I think the best move for Black Spikes at this point is just rotate around and take the radio tower.
I agree.
Just leave. This is a very bad spot to be if the enemy takes the hill.
Strikes are live and they're not on that hill yet.
Yeah. The other option is to try to do something like go for a pick on that Shadowhawk that's lacking. That Shadowhawk 5M is way behind.
And strikes are going down the hill as they're climbing. Oh! Ooh.
I guess Sanguine Tigers have covered it, so they can run.
But I think that's all they're going to manage to get. I would have hoped for a little bit more. It doesn't appear to be the case. They're too far of a distance to really do any damage to that Shadowhawk. I think they take this hill for free.
The only question is what Black Spikes decide to do about this, because honestly, I think this is not a very strong position for them, and they're going to get run down. Red Diablo just took a big hit for them too.
Yeah, it's worth noting that all of the damage that Ellen really took was to the dummy arm, so superficial.
Airstrike online.
I feel like this is a bad position for Spikes right now. I really do. But they're maintaining their position. Oh, this is not looking good. I don't know about you, but I feel like Black Spikes are losing this trade. I mean, it's gradual because of the distance, but jump into the cockpit of some of the events here.
Airstrike online.
And you got the Shadowhawk. I mean, as you can see, depending on their position, they have a lot of cover to be offered, and they can look down on, you know, that 10 line, 9 line hill.
Sorry about that. I had to step away for a second. I'm back though.
Well, I was just commenting how I feel like slowly but surely Black Spikes is losing this. I mean, if you look at the positioning and the height advantage that most of that position offers, they're looking down all over I-10, I-9. There's not very many spots for Lords to hide, or, well, I'm sorry, Black Spikes. It's not many spots for them to sit. I feel like they are losing the overall trades. Now, it's not to say they aren't getting damage in. They are. But I feel like they're taking a bit more.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. It's not as though Sanguine Tigers is exactly getting off scot-free, though. Most of their mechs are down into the 80s as well. They've just done a good job getting a couple guys on Black Spikes down a bit farther.
Yeah, you've got
Erish, Dr. Totencuff and Erish just took a couple big hits there.
Yeah.
I mean, this could really go either way. I mean, ultimately, I think it's a stronger position for Sanguine Tigers, but they just don't seem to be capitalizing on it as well as they could be. Black Spikes is doing an excellent job tonight, and there's an airstrike that's about to come down on Stalker. Does manage to get out of the way, but I think it clips the Raven.
Oh, Stimrod.
Stimrod just got really hurt. He's open CT. He lost a dummy arm, which fortunately isn't a big deal. That's a lot of his health, but he is open CT, which is going to be a problem.
Oh, the strikes are absolutely
Doyle
wrecking.
Wow. Well, fortunately, Doyle's damage is spread all over quite a bit. Unlike last time, where a lot of it was CT localized, he was actually in much worse shape at a higher health. He is in pretty good condition right now. And yeah, just watching some of these guys, it looks like from the Black Spike's perspective that they're able to see the mechs of the Sanguine Tigers peak a little bit sooner than might be ideal. I don't think that the Sanguine Tigers mechs have quite the right profile for this. If they'd managed to bring a Stalker or two up on top, it might have been different, but these Dragon Slayers don't vertically peak in the same way.
I agree. And, you know, they brought two of them, so they had the choice. They could have done it. And, you know, replace Thunderbolt with a quick draw. The Cataphracts are okay. Your Shadowhawks are okay. The Hunchback is okay. Like, you know, they'd have been fine. I feel like ultimately the choice of a Thunderbolt and the Dragon Slayers is hurting them right now.
Right, again, those are primarily side peeking mechs. There's nothing wrong with that, but putting all your eggs in a side peeking basket on a vertically peeking heavy map, you know, may not be the right decision.
I mean, let's face reality here. Even Proton in his Banshee has really decent profile for this.
And Hoynara in the Hunchback has got an extremely open side turret, so that is an XL engine build. He is out of the fight. He needs to just keep his head down for the duration. It looks like Sanguine Tigers are just getting the crap beaten out of them at this point. They don't have enough mechs up to trade. They should just stop trading. This is not going to end well.
I agree. At this point, they've lost way too much hit points. They just did not have the trading profile or firepower to do so with Black Spikes here. I think that this match is theirs at the moment. If Sanguine Tigers continue their aggression, they're going to lose somebody.
Yeah. And then the thing is, once you have 2 or 3 mechs that can't trade at all anymore, it means that the enemy mechs can sort of bully up and double and triple team the guys that are still able to trade, which means even if they would have been able to win, they aren't able to win anymore. So this is really the point where you really need to just stop trading the way you are if you're Sanguine Tigers. So you're just digging yourself deeper into the hole. It's not going to go your way. Stop making it try to happen.
I agree.
Their best bet at this point is let it tick out and hope that nothing happens. And the second best situation is that Black Spikes does something very aggressive that you can try to flip on their head, but this can be very difficult, even with them being aggressive at this point, just because you're so low on hit points.
Well, an interesting note, those of you who are spectating and able to see, you know, the health display that I'm trying to keep up as much as possible for everyone when I'm not in a cockpit, is that you'll notice that some people actually have lower health numbers, but their color has not changed. That's because that's actually relegated to how much armor is left on a particular component. If a critical component starts being open, like anything in the torso, that number starts changing color very rapidly. That's why you'll see like it's blood red for Panera there, and switching to him in spectator mode, you can see that he has a very open and highly damaged right side torso.
And that is an XL engine, which means that if he loses that, he's done.
You know, you pop over to Arish, again, he has an open side torso. You pop over to Stinrag, again, you know, open CT. So you can kind of see. And then you've got a lower health Kilo or even Trueborn here. And, you know, he's got a barely scratched but open side torso. You've got Kilo who has...
Trueborn just took a bit of damage there. That could be really bad if he takes more on that side torso.
Yeah.
He's going to have to stop trading. I think that's it for Trueborn. He's going to have to sit down.
Yes. So ultimately, what I'm saying is that the color seems to be a lot more related to the condition of the internal torso health.
Right. The percentage tells you how much of their total health they have left, and the color really tells you how close to dead they are. Because as most experienced players know, just because you've taken a lot of damage doesn't mean that you're in terrible condition, and just because you have good health doesn't mean you aren't about to die. If they put, even in an Atlas, if they put 180 points of damage straight through your center torso, you're dead, and that's not a huge percentage of your total hit point. You can be at 80% and be completely dead through your center torso.
The trading still continues for Sanguine Tigers. I feel like that's incredibly ill-advised. I mean, you look at the hit points and the overall quality of health for Black Spikes, and they're doing much, much better right now.
Yeah, it's definitely continuing to get away from Sanguine Tigers. These trades are just not going their way right now. They do have a couple of pretty fresh guys. Fritzer and his Spider is extremely healthy. Ellen Ripley's got a bit of damage, but is in pretty good condition overall. Dummy arm is open, but that's it.
Well, we got 3 minutes on the clock. I don't suspect that Lords are going to make... Oh, damn, I just said it again. Wow! I don't suspect that Black Spikes is going to make a play here. Considering the position, it just would take too long, I think, realistically. It's not even a matter of whether
they'd have to start moving now. I think it's doable. They have enough hit point advantage. If they wanted to risk it, I think it could easily go their way. I'm not saying it would, but it could definitely be 50-50, which is pretty damn good for an aggression on this map.
Yeah.
On the other hand, they do have to get moving now.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm hoping
And Sanguine Tigers would have to be nuts to try to push them at this point.
Yeah, I think they're hoping that Sanguine Tigers will continue to trade, and they are. And they're suffering.
They're hoping for a pick. They're hoping to pressure the pick off long-range trades if they're going to make a mistake. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I suspect. Trueborn down to 49%, but he's still holding. Spread out. I will say that several mechs for Black Spikes are getting danger low in the raw health pool. I just heard something else interesting, actually. The Shadowhawk, I do believe, for Trueborn is a standard engine. And it seems
is that a standard engine?
Yeah, it seems to be that the color calculator takes this into account. So his color is not actually as blood red as it should be, considering that side torso spot pop.
Huh.
Interesting.
Well, that's interesting. Right, because looking at him right now, it looks like he should be as bad as Huanaira, but if that's not an XL, then he really isn't in that much trouble, to be honest. It's more just that his center torso is open. That's the threat.
Yeah.
Well, that seems to be reflected by the colors. That's very interesting. That's a good point. So this spectator tool has some interesting features that we are still learning about, and that is a draw.
Yep, another draw, but much closer.
Yeah.
There was a lot of shooting there.
A lot going on. Yeah, look at
Yeah.
the damage numbers. It's going to be pretty decent, actually. Yeah.
Yep.
Looks like Sanguine Tigers ended up keeping up in the damage by the end. I'm surprised that they did, because they were definitely behind at one point, and I thought that they should just stop trading, but apparently they managed to turn things around a bit, and we're getting the better part of the trades later on. Not really sure what caused that, but definitely happened. Interesting.
Yeah, this is... I feel like this is a stalemate, though. I mean, that's as aggressive as they could have humanly got. That was more aggressive than I figured was actually possible. But there you have it. It happened. So, what's next? I suspect we get some mech changes this time. That's the only option left for Sanguine Tigers.
Yeah. This is just crazy.
I feel like if they go trade their Dragon Slayers for Stalkers and trade their Thunderbolt for a quick draw, they actually might be able to outright win that fight. But will they do it?
Yeah, the trading fight could go their way in that situation. Yeah, I just don't know if that's something that they're interested in doing. The thing about, again, the Stalkers that you do have to remember is they are a lot slower than the Dragon Slayers,
Yes.
which does mean that they're kind of if you aren't very careful about it.
And they're a flat top mech with a large top surface area, so they get hit by a lot of strikes.
Yeah. They really are very vulnerable to strikes, so you have to keep that in mind. But if you play it safe, and it is all airstrikes, so as long as you keep your eyes in the sky, you can actually, without even seeing the red smoke, tell something's coming from you. So having a good in looking at the sky, which is very possible if you're zoomed out in the Stalker, or having somebody who's not trading particularly well just sit back and stare at the sky for everybody, can let you know exactly where the strikes are coming, because they're all airstrikes right now.
Yes.
They have to be on this draw.
And honestly, airstrikes, I understand why they're doing it, and I actually agree with it. I hadn't really thought about it, but I know why they're doing it. Airstrikes, you can see them coming if you're paying attention. Regular strikes, you can't.
Yep.
So there is a bit of awareness involved in airstrikes, and if you have
Well, the next drop, it's going to be all arty strikes.
That's true. Which does not give you the warning.
Yeah.
But I do actually find that airstrikes, thinking about it, they're fairly interesting. You do get that awareness factor. If you have the awareness, you can avoid it. And you do know that they go on a line. If you know it's only going to be airstrikes, then your instinct is when you see the plane, you jump diagonal. Done. The highest chance of getting out of the way if you're aware enough to react to it in time. And awareness is, a very important skill for a pilot. I can't fathom what they're going to do next, though. I mean, how much more aggressive can you get? Like I said, the only thing I can think of is them to swap to better trading profiles.
Yep, I don't really see anything else that's going to change.
Or make a play out of the pug book and make an aggression on that 10 line. That's really risky, but they do have the faster mechs. They know by now exactly what Lords have. God, I'm going to quit doing that eventually, I swear. They do know what black spikes have. They know that they're faster. They know that they can get more mechs up to that hill faster than they can. Do they make a play for that?
Well, the other thing is black spikes may change their plan up after seeing what Sanguine Tiger just did and go for that I-11, H-11 hill themselves, and they will win that race. And then what's going to happen? You know, we could just be in another turtling situation. You don't want to trade up at that hill with stalkers. Stalkers really do rely on a bit of a height advantage for their trading profile.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid that if they do this again, we're going to be sitting here for another 15 minutes. Hopefully the delay in them getting their things together is them agreeing to play Conquest, but one can only hope.
Well, I just don't know what else they can do. This is a very precarious position. This is pretty normal for Alpine, to be honest. Actually, I think that H10, H9, you know, that 9-10 line versus the, 12 and 11 line was actually probably one of the more bloodiest battles I've ever seen on this map, on skirmish, to be quite honest with you. And still, it didn't result in a kill. Really close, though. If they did the same thing again, it could be really bloody.
I would be a bit surprised if we see the same exact thing again, though, because, again, that did rely a bit on black spikes not knowing what was happening. I think that black spikes probably would have cut them off if they'd had the opportunity, but they'd already committed so hard to racing up that first mountain that they weren't in a position to cut back and fight over the other one. It looks like they are both in game, so let's take a look at that.
All right. Didn't get a warning that time. Oh, the game is actually well underway. No real fire has happened yet. A little bit of
And
trading.
it looks like we are posed to have a repeat of match 2 with Sanguine Tigers on the radio tower and
online.
black spikes on the I-9, I-10 mountain.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot going on right now, some light trading, but ultimately pretty mild stuff.
Yeah. 1 second.
Microphone activated.
Yes, looks like Skate Knock took a hit in his Raven, but nothing too serious. I'm gonna take a peek inside his cockpit, see what happened. Just all over spread damage, nothing big.
Airstrike online.
apologize for all that. I'm back. Although
Airstrike online.
nothing terribly exciting has happened, I can see. Although we do have Doctor a little low here. I think all things considered, and Fritzer as well.
Wow, Fritzer, yeah, he took a hit there. Looks like he probably just got clipped by an Artie based on where he was. There's nothing, anything else that could hit him.
Airstrike online.
Not a whole lot going on right now. Just a lot of trading back and forth. Minor firepower. We have Fritzer way out on this hill over here, all by himself, but he is so far away that that is of little relevance.
No. Magician just suggested a solution that could have fixed this problem. He said what Sanguine Tiger should have done is taken 100 kph brawlers and blitzed the I-10 hill faster than the Lords did.
I agree.
The Black Spikes did.
No, I agree. And honestly, even with the tech they have now, they have such a mobility advantage that they can get up there faster.
Yeah.
Assuming that they chose to do that. I'm actually sort of surprised they have not. It is definitely an option for them. Cafe Arms just took a big blow from an airstrike. We'll,
Yeah, he got a little bit of ER poke too. He's lost his dummy arm almost, but again, that's not a huge concern for him. He doesn't have anything in either arm, and he's lost armor off of both arms, and that seems to be where a lot of the damage on him's come from.
I agree.
And still some basic training arm. Oh, okay. Both arms off of Cafe at this point. He's taking quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, I just saw a really good strike actually from what looked like Fritzer all the way out on G5.
Yeah, and they've got their... Oh, that's interesting. They've got their Ravens out there at a funny angle trying to poke in, get strikes. There's certainly something frustrating that Black Spike's going to have to deal with. They do have some of these slower mechs. The Stalker and the Banshee, they do eat strikes pretty hard, and if you're getting struck from any angle, it's sometimes hard to keep track of where they can all be coming from.
And correction, that was MRBC airstrike. Yeah, Cafe down to 66%. Still holding armor though, so he's safe.
Oh, another strike on him.
Alright, that's starting to get out of hand for him at this point.
Yeah, he's taking a bit of damage. Fritzer is still where he used to be. Yeah, it doesn't look like the same Tiger is doing that much damage. Cafe seems to be the guy on the receiving end of most of this pain. And with 7 minutes left, they're still going to have to put on a lot more pain before it makes sense for either team to risk a push.
Yep.
Oh, another strike that gets the cap.
His leg
Oh,
is
his
now
leg's
open. Yep.
If they take that leg, he could be in a world of hurt. He should probably just put his head down at this point, I would think.
I still feel like.
Oh,
even-
look at that. The spiders for Sanguine Tigers are up on top of H11, poking down at
Online.
the enemies on the I-10 hill.
Yeah, and Cafe is
They're
taking
being
even more
quite a
damage.
bit more aggressive with their lights here. They have been in the past. That's definitely
Oh, Cafe is getting really
ineffective.
hurt. His leg is crit.
Yeah, it looks like they know where he is. And
And he's getting another one. He's getting another one.
Here it comes.
Destroyed.
Oh,
Gauss ammo.
He is in
destroyed.
bad shape.
he's lagged.
Left torso
He is lagged.
critical damage. Right leg critical damage. Head critically damaged. ER.
Wow. This is not good for him.
And he is
Uh-oh.
still taking harass. But that's all the strikes they have to really give now. So they have to do it with regular damage, and they are indeed broken in it. Oh, Calf is in really rough shape
Oh,
here.
no.
He is in really rough shape here. Calf will not last much longer under this pressure.
I think the one thing that's good is it does appear to have a standard engine, otherwise his number would be much more orange than it is.
Torso
But he
destroyed.
Yes.
is pretty screwed.
They are definitely making a dent in this. It's worth noting Fritzer has taken a bit more damage, so has the Raven. Yeah, they can't keep doing this though. I mean, all they have to do is take damage. Oh, there we go. Gauss Rifle Explosion. That's a crit side torso. They are
Oh.
picking him to pieces right now. If they can get a pick on him and get
All
out.
they need now is their main force could potentially roll up. The entire Black Spikes team is dedicated to containing those spiders and ravens.
Destroyed. ER.
And-
laser destroyed.
Yes, here they come. Here comes the same Tigers team coming up H9 Hill. They're going to try to catch the enemy unawares.
Yeah, they're
know it,
completely
though.
on it.
They
They
know
have
it.
no idea right now.
They
Proton's
do. They
about to
just
spot
called
him.
it. They said they're going.
Yep. They can't hold this.
This is going to be a mess. All right, we're going to get our engagement. Airstrike coming in on Sanguine Tiger's flank. They're going to have to be careful to avoid this.
It was actually caught by the near hill. They did not get it on him at all. Looks like Arish is actually in really bad shape right now.
Seleth is also very crit. He could go down any second.
Proton's taking a lot of damage. This is not going well for either side right now. Look at the health percentages right now, and it still looks like Black Spikes are taking it the worst right now. They're continuing to push their aggression. They have the advantage. All they have to do is get a little bit more aggressive with it. If they can get up there in numbers at one time, they'll be okay. If they do it in staggered file, they're gonna get focused down. This is definitely going to get really, really bloody here in just a moment. People are going to start popping all over the place.
We've still got ER large coming from behind at Black Spikes. That's going to prove a big problem for them. It's going to put a lot of pressure on them to make something happen. Oh, here the Sanguine Tigers keep advancing on the left side.
Yeah, and they did it just in time, too, because Black Spike's lights were actually going to go for Sanguine Tiger's lights, but they couldn't do it because the main force made an aggression. Now they have to stay to bolster the weapon firepower and the health pool of the main force of Black Spikes right now.
Yeah.
This is getting really, really close. It's worth noting, though, there's a lot of standard engines on Black Spikes. Not a lot of standard engines for Sanguine Tigers.
Oh, and Red Diablo goes down for Black Spikes.
They have to
Black
make a
Spikes
move
is
now.
Down one.
Yep, they have to make a move now. I feel like this actually still
Doyle could potentially get picked, and Stimrog is dead.
Yeah, I actually feel like this is going to start collapsing for Sanguine Tigers now.
I'm not sure they should have backed off the way they did.
I agree.
I think they could have held their own. Knew the push was coming, they should have just absorbed it. Doyle is down.
10. Yep. Yep. It looks like Ripley's going to be next. He's down.
That's it.
Yeah, there were too low a health pool with too many XLs. This is over. Well done holding the siege under so much pressure for Black Spikes. And they still held it. I mean, props to Cafeon's. 10%. He's still alive. 8%. He is still alive. 2 seconds on the clock, and it is over. Black Spikes picks up the game.
Wow. Thought that was never going to end. Yeah, good move by Sanguine Tigers on that aggression, but ultimately I don't think that they should have given up their firing lines. I think if Black Spikes did not have enough healthy mechs, that if they had come up against even the crit mechs, you know, all facing up with, you know, 6 main force guns pointing down, and they just started dropping one by one very quickly. The rotation away again was sort of the conservative play there, trying to ensure that they had enough mechs alive at the end because they were up one, and they're just going to back away. But there was never any chance that they were going to get away. They were too committed up on that map. There was too much open ground to cover on the retreat. They should have just held their position.
I agree.
Ultimately, you know, excellent job making a move happen to begin with. Excellent positioning by those lights. Excellent job picking on Caffein's the entire game. But excellent job by the Black Spikes to flip it on its head. You know, surviving the siege. Getting some pressure on there, and then getting the picks as Sanguine Tigers retreated.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you can tell the tale here of just how strong the Stalker was in that particular drop. You can see, I mean, it did the highest damage, significantly the highest, followed by the, you know, the Banshee, which, as I said before, has extremely high mounted hard points as well. It's not a Stalker, but I mean, it's still really, really good. I feel like ultimately between the fact that they had the high ground, especially when they started retreating, and the fact that they had such good profile mechs, that inevitably lead to that landslide just demolishing of Sanguine Tiger's mechs at the end that you saw. I'm not sure what they could have done differently other than maybe just get a bit more aggressive than they did. I feel like that might have been the solution, was not even just hold their ground, but push the issue. Because for a while in that aggression, they did have the advantage, but I feel like they stalled. If they had
there were
pushed a little
two
harder.
main force mechs, Caffey, Angst, and Seleth, that were completely out of the fight. They were hiding on the back of the mountain, trying desperately not to get shot at because they were both one-hit crits. And with that sort of numbers advantage, that's sort of when you can try to make something happen. I think that Sanguine Tigers was happy, though, to maintain their position and let their lights continue to work the backside, which is a very precarious position to put Black Spikes in, right? Because you can't take cover from something behind you and in front of you. And so I think they were planning on just whittling them down, which isn't necessarily a bad strategy. But again, you have to at least hold your positions if you're going to do that. But yeah, I agree. They potentially could have aggressed a little bit harder. The only danger there is if the Black Spikes stepped up into the pocket, so to speak, or they just stepped up into the push, they could potentially have taken the Sanguine Tigers' lights out of the fight, which would have been problematic because they cannot shoot down into that valley area from where they were.
I agree. You know, and Audiovo is saying in chat right now, you know, this is why I hate Ravens. You know, if Embers, you could just aggress them on the hill and push them off the hill. He does hold a point.
Well, they never would have been in that position to begin with if they had been bringing Generators and Embers. If they were not able to poke at the enemy, they never would have gotten Black Spikes in the position where they were able to advance their force up the mountain, where they were able to get Kathy Yanks at such low health that they had to shift everything over to protect him. The Ravens made that play. I mean, sure, if you could magically transform them into Embers when it's convenient for you, that's great. But Embers could never have made that play.
Well, there is the flip side of the coin of if they just made the aggressive move up the hill with their faster mechs at the start of the game. Embers can do that better. And if they had chosen to do that, they could have maybe forced Black Spikes from never having the hill to begin with. Which is an interesting decision, and not something I've seen in competitive play on either side of the fence yet. The problem is you're kind of hoping that someone decides, A, they want to go on that 9-10 line, and B, that they bring big, slow, fat mechs to do it, right? Because if they don't, and you make that aggression, you're a good risk of losing that. It ends up being that coin toss that I highly dislike. You know, who's actually going to win that? But if they do bring big slow,
there's always the possibility that you just decide to just go straight up the H11, I11 hill, and you just wasted all that time maneuvering and trying to take the hill. And if you run a brawler comp, you're never going to be able to attack that position. And your best hope is to go hide in a corner.
Even if you just brought Embers instead for lights, like or a Ember even, you know, a Ember in that situation, if you were trying to force people off the hill, is incredibly just mean in general. But not even an Ember, just a Jenner even would work for that role.
All right, well, let's talk about the next match. So again, for those of you paying attention, this match is going to be do or die for both teams. Whoever wins this next game is going to come out on top of the MRBC EU A Division Finals. They will be the winners. Whoever wins this upcoming game. This will be the very heavy drop on Crimson Straits, I believe. Only artillery strikes are allowed. It'll be 2 lights, 2 heavies, and 4 assaults. You can only have 1 of each chassis and only duplicate 1 chassis other than your lights. So let's see what happens. This could be very interesting.
Yeah,
what do you think we're going to see here?
Well, it's hard to say. I've always felt like this map, despite the looks of it, feels closer towards a long-range engagement. But it would not be surprising to me to see something more aggressive from either one of these teams. I feel like ultimately, though, I did it again. Black Spikes is going to be out towards the island. I mean, there's not a whole lot of reason for them not to.
Yeah, they always just do have the option of turtling up on there and forcing a longer range engagement. Another thing to remember is that, unlike an engagement on Alpine, the island is within range of weapons like the PPC and AC-5 to some extent from the first row of buildings. Not perfectly, and you'll typically out-trade with other stuff, but it's still hittable with that. And there also is an approach around the back that is difficult to deal with. I'm not saying it's perfect, but if you approach through the C1 area, it does lend you a lot of cover and will tend to flush most teams off of the island. Now, what you do at that point can potentially sink you, but it will tend to force people off the island if you do make that push.
Yes. The other option is completely encompassing the island. And what I mean by that is you can actually attack it, if nothing else, with airstrikes from every single angle.
Well, it's all artillery strikes at this point.
Artillery strikes, whatever the case may be. Even just Gauss rifles or PPCs or whatever the case may be.
Especially if you choose those lights with ER larges, like they chose on the last one. They're able to if the enemy chooses to turtle up full on the island, you can flank a couple of your lights around sort of 90 degrees away from your main force. Still have them be safe from getting ganked, and put a lot of pressure, because there isn't that much good cover that'll protect you from multiple angles on that island. And if you're covered from one direction, you're going to be able to get shot from another.
Right, and here's the reality,
exploit the hell out of it.
Is that anytime you make a move away from that island, anywhere that the enemy has set up encompassing that, they can simply move in the direction you're moving and maintain distance with you. And they can continue to hit you as you're traveling across the water to push on any group that you think may have been isolated. And you're still taking damage the whole way through. You'll get a brief reprieve once you get to the mainland, but that's only going to be brief, and you took all that damage getting there. So
yeah, that's definitely a serious concern. That said, if you're able to bring a long-range comp out to the island and get the enemy team to engage you with weapons that just aren't as optimal, with builds that just aren't as good at trading in that situation, there's very little they can do about it, because you don't have to leave unless you get outstruck. Which again is a possibility, but there's nothing forcing you to do anything. It is skirmish mode.
Yeah.
The other possibility we could see is another brawl.
Yes. Over the docks.
There's plenty of space in the city on Crimson Strait for a brawl. Again, ultimately, because Black Spikes controls the one spot where you can turtle in and force a long-range fight, they pretty much get to determine whether this is going to be a brawling game or a sniping game. If they choose to bring snipers and camp the island, it's going to turn into a pretty long-range combat, unless Sanguine Tigers just decides to charge them, which again is a risky proposition. If they decide to bring a brawling deck and push directly onto the platform, under the platform, into the B4 city, there's very little that Sanguine Tigers can do to turn it into a sniping game at that point, if Black Spikes is good about scouting their movements.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think there's a lot of options on the table. Of course, Arctic Strike's alive, so that can jostle things up quite a bit. You have to see, C4? Yeah, C4 Hill there, C4, C5. You can get a lot of strikes down with lights onto the D2, C2, E2 island out there. There's a lot of different things that can happen. Speculate on this for a while, probably.
Yeah, the teams are still in lobby, presumably still preparing for this match. Yeah, this should be definitely a more action-packed series than the previous one. That Alpine drop was absolutely. I enjoyed the last round, but the first couple definitely were very on the slow side. This map is a little bit closer, even when you do have the long-range standoffs, and there'll be higher pressure and better avenues of approach. So should be more aggressive and more nail-biting, to be sure.
Yes. And the last two matches on Alpine were actually pretty good. Even if the one before that did not result in a kill, it was really close on both sides. So, yeah. We should be heading into Game 5 here shortly. Here's an interesting thought, just to kill some time here. G1 Island. You ever been there? What does that even do for
Oh, boy. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I haven't really spent much time on that spot of the map, to be honest.
Who has?
I'm sure somebody has. I feel like it plays a lot like the main island. It is harder to push on. The danger, though, with that is that you have the enemy 500 meters away, right? I mean, sure, it's dangerous to push across the open for that far, but they can bring mid-range weapons to trade with you and from the edge of the city, and you're in trouble. And they're also able to, if you don't have really long-range weapons, stick somebody out in E1 and poke at you from a corner. So it's, I think, difficult to figure out how you best play that. Because if you take very long-range weapons, you run the risk of getting out mid-range DPS if they go into the city. And if you run very mid-range weapons with that in mind, you run the risk of getting picked away at from the far flank.
Yeah. But
Again,
it's
I haven't
kind of the
played it. I'm
same
not really sure
way
how
all on the main
why not.
island too, eh? It's just you limit the amount of angles you can be shot from, but does it really matter?
Yeah.
I've never been to that island, so I don't really know. I just happened to notice sitting over there, and I was like, you know, they want to do something different.
That would definitely be different. We'll have to see.
I
Again,
seriously
it's
doubt
yeah.
it. Seriously.
If someone's turtling on an island, it's probably going to be the big one in the middle here, this D1, D2 island. That's what people tend to use. Yeah, it should be interesting to see what they do. There's also the possibility that Black Spice decided they want to control the top platform. That's also a strong position, especially for sort of a mid-range combat team if they decide to go that route. It's difficult to egress from the B3, B4 section to push into Epsilon City and roll up. It can be out-traded from certain angles, and if they bring those XL engine brawlers, they might just be able to get up on you faster than you can deal with them. But I think there's a lot of options for both teams on this map, and I just want to see them play at this point. I'm really interested to see them have this one big final game, because this is it. You know, whoever wins this, they are the champions of the MRBC EU League, at least by my math.
All right, I think we'll be getting into this next drop here in the next couple of minutes. Sorry for any delays. People have to switch their decks and mechs and modules and all that. And if anyone actually watches this game and plays this game, knows exactly how long that could take sometimes. So we will be in this game here shortly.
Yeah, definitely. It's especially with the lobby system, because you have to drop out of the lobby in order to build your mech to the right specifications, get the right modules in, want the right modules off of the mech that you had them in previously. You can definitely, the entire process can end up taking a bit of time. Ultimately, though, you know, both teams have some level of professionalism. I wouldn't expect this to go on forever.
No. Like I said, I imagine it'll be a minute or two here. We'll be getting going. That said, what are good points of contention on this map? B2, B3, D4, D5. Obviously, your D2 island section out there. Those are your big points of contention. D4
There's
is interesting
also-
because upper and lower docks, and
Right.
both of that gets fought over, quite frankly.
Yeah, and then of course there's that B3 and surrounding areas that have that important city that allows you to control trading up at the upper platform, as well as movement across that entire left side of the map. There's also always the possibility that if a team decides they want to camp out in B3, B4, that they get hit by a movement through the cave coming out of B5. There's a lot of things that happen on this map. It's typically a very tough map to game plan for because there's a lot of options. There's a lot of bottlenecks, but there's also a lot of options. So I guess the real question is, what decks? We talked about what Black Spikes could do. You know, they could either run Brawler straight into the city and try to make a brawl happen, or sit back with snipers and make sniping happen on the island. What do you think Sanguine Tiger's most likely response to Black Spikes' options? What do you think Sanguine Tigers is going to do?
Like
What
the
will they
Dragon
bring?
Slayers.
How will they play it?
You know that? I like the
Yeah.
Dragon Slayers. They brought that Thunderbolt of. I am not sure I'm sold on that one yet, but they brought it. We haven't seen any quick draws from either team yet. No, they both like their cataphracts. I assume we'll see some cataphracts as far as heavies go. I mean, we will see heavies, yes, on this drop. I think we'll see probably 4 Dragon Slayers and 2 cataphracts from Sanguine Tigers. They tend to like them. They've kind of stuck to those mechs. I don't think much has changed.
Well, I don't think they can bring 4 Dragon Slayers. I think they did bring 2.
Oh, right, they can't.
And they can only double up on 1 chassis other than their lights.
If they're going to do it, they're going to do it on the assault. So 2 Dragon Slayers, but what would they bring else? That's an excellent question.
Very little else that's an assault can maintain that speed, so they're going to have to sacrifice the speed of their entire composition, unless they want to bring Battle Masters.
Or 9Ms.
They could bring.
Would they actually?
I don't think that makes any sense. But they could. Yeah, they could bring Awesomes and Battle Masters and maintain their speed. I just don't really see that as particularly realistic. I don't know. You can never tell. I mean, if they decide to value speed and they want to rush up the docks, that's almost certainly their best option, because anything else is just going to anchor them too heavily. If they decide to go for power, then I would be surprised to actually see Dragon Slayers. You might see Atlases, you might see Banshees, you might see Highlander. But the Dragon Slayer's biggest strength is mobility, and if you're anchoring your team with really slow mechs, I'm not sure whether it makes sense to bring a ton of them.
Yeah, I agree. Flip side is they can bring a Brawling Force, Atlas Banshee.
Yeah, absolutely. Atlases hurt, Banshees hurt. They both have
Stalkers
an unbelievable amount of armor.
Misery even.
Yeah, Misery is not a bad mech. Highlander is not terrible either.
Yeah,
it's got a bit of a jumping problem, but it can definitely pack a punch. And yeah, we are still waiting for the teams to finish readying up. So we will keep you posted when they launch.
There's so many options. It really just is.
Yeah, I think it's. I think the proof will be in the pudding here. We need to see what the teams end up bringing before we know. But ultimately, we could see a lot of different things. I honestly, personally, would most like to see both teams just go do a brawl in the D3 area. I think that would be awesome. That would make my day. But I'm biased. I like seeing brawls, and I think that's an interesting place to fight.
Yeah, I agree. Just noticed a random comment again by Audiobo. He says, I-9 Hill is the second strongest position on the map for Alpine, second only to H12. I actually would counter that with F3, to be honest. I find F3 and that whole H12, G13, whatever area over there, to be pretty much equal. Neither one of them are terribly aggressive. And if anything, as you saw, you can shoot at the G13 area from the H9 and the I9, I-10 Hill. You can't shoot at damn near anything on F3 if they don't want you to. So
right, but the flip side is you can't actually pressure them off of any position they're on from there.
True.
Unlike the 11 hills, where you can pressure them off potentially.
Yeah.
It is very much I am not going to lose this drop positioning.
Mm-hmm.
More than anything else. You're just trying to go somewhere where it's virtually impossible to attack you. But it's so easy for them not to get attacked by you while you're up there, just because you're super visible. You're not going to sneak up on anybody. Again, the same things that make it impossible to attack makes it impossible to move away stealthily. There's just so much open space around it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't really be attacked there. It's a fantastic position, but you're only going to win if they're stupid enough to attack you.
True, but that's pretty much any position on Alpine.
That's fair enough. Yeah, there's enough space where you can just back off of whatever hill they're trying to play and go somewhere else.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we got BSMC Mech restarting client on a loadout error, so we should be up and running here in just about a minute or so. For real this time.
Awesome.
Yeah, and this will be, as Peter said earlier, the final match. Expect this to be epic, I hope. And they are launching, so we are getting this underway, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, rather. Waiting for it to kick me into the game, and
Here we go.
All right, here we go, people. This is the last match. Black Spikes.
Again, this game will
Penguin
determine
Tigers.
the team that takes the crown of the MRBC EU Division A title. Basically, who's the top team in EU in this league, which features two of the best teams in the EU region. Sanguine Tigers or the Black Spikes. Interesting, we have a K2 for the Black Spikes. I assume it's a 20 cat, but we will see. Yeah, that looks like a 20 cat.
Yep, looks like a 20 cat. Looks like we got I don't know what's on the cataphracts. And they are on the island, but they do have atlases, so that means we are going to get a brawl.
Atlas, Banshee, Stalker. That is a brawling comp if I've ever seen one.
Yep,
and from they've got two embers, but the Sanguine Tigers brought double oxides. Now, again, as we discussed on the first drop, those oxides have an unbelievable punch with their SRMs. I believe they're running 2 4s and 2 6s. However, they are less mobile and more fragile than the embers because of their large CTs and lack of jump jets.
It's worth noting they brought a 732.
732, and I have to look at what they brought. There's a Stalker S. Why would you bring the Stalker S?
Fantastic question.
All right, let's take a look at what they're running. Stimrog, that's just the quad ER large. You'd be better served running that a Stalker F. It gives you better torso twist.
Agreed.
I guess he just doesn't have one, or I don't know, but that is what he's running.
And the 732 is Trip ER large Gauss rifle. Judging by the speed of 59.4, that is probably an XL.
Target acquired.
Highlander, Gauss Trip ER. No, I don't think that has to be an XL for that.
Yeah, it could be. Well,
because it's like dual peep Gauss, 60 is like a 300. You know, 3 ERs weighs about the same as 2 peeps, so that could definitely be a standard engine. Depends on how we build it out.
Yeah, I suppose so. Taking a look at Doyle here.
And it looks like Sanguine Tigers was just expecting a brawling comp from Black Spikes, and they're just sneaking around the edge of the map here, trying to get around them and get out to the island or something. Which is really funny, flipping the island on its head. You know, normally you think that Black Spikes would have a much better shot at the island, but they're going the other way. They're giving up the island.
Artillery strike
and
online.
I think they spotted them. I think they're moving out to meet them near where the theta point would be.
Worth noting that 3E is 1 large laser, 2 AC2, 2 UAP5. That's great.
It's just a pure fire support. The 2 AC2s do slightly higher DPS than you could get with, you know, the 1.5 you could squeeze in there with Trip 5s. And the large laser, of course, gives you a bit more punch at range than you get from, say, a handful of mediums.
I'm not sure.
It looks
that
like Sanguine Tigers need. Yeah, look, maybe they haven't spotted them yet because they haven't. Black Spikes isn't moving in very aggressively, and you'd think if they knew what was going on, they'd be trying to get them dead. They had an opportunity. I mean, they could just kill them right now. They're so vulnerable. They have a long-range comp. There they go. They spotted them A2, and they're trying to move in full speed. Here we go. This could be an engagement. Can they get enough space? They probably just want to back off into the water here behind where the theta point would be.
I agree.
What kind of range does Black Spikes bring on this one? I don't think that the DECs have any sort of range. The K2s don't. Embers don't.
Looking at their
They
cataphracts.
almost certainly have range.
2 AC5s, 2 PPCs on their cataphracts. This brawl is happening. This brawl is happening.
Got a lot of damage going down on Skate Knock and Red Diablo.
Yeah, the embers are getting in among them now.
And the Ambers are going to be pretty devastating, but so are those Oxides if they can get flanking positions. They can hit really hard, but Almeras in his Oxide, way overextended, dove in the middle of the enemy team and got himself a kill.
Yeah, Ripley's about to go down. Doctor's about to go down.
Yeah, yeah, this is not looking good for Sanguine Tigers.
Panera is about to go down. Shoeborn's about to pop. He is down. It is currently 3-2, 4-2.
Just survived too well. They distracted a lot of the Sanguine Tigers' fire.
Yeah, this is decisively over. Well done, Black Spikes.
And there we have it. Just mop up at this point. Erickson Fritz are still up, and Oxide and Dragon Slayer.
Yep.
But this is over.
Heat level critical.
Excellent job, the Black Spikes.
Resource destroyed.
I'm unofficially saying that they are now the MRBC EU Division A champions. Congratulations. Also, congratulations, of course, to Sanguine Tigers for an excellent set of matches. Good play, and, of course, a very respectable second place finish. Awesome. Glad to cast these, glad to be able to watch. So let's talk about what we saw in that.
Yeah, I mean, just straight aggression from them. I mean, look at that Atlas, look at the Banshee. It just brought some serious hurt.
Yeah, I'm surprised that from their spawn, the Sanguine Tigers brought such a ranged heavy comp. So many ER large lasers when they're spending so much time in the city. It just seems extremely risky.
All right, so we got map tactics here. If you want to talk about what we saw.
Yeah. So hold on, let me. How does it scroll? Okay, there we go. All right, so we have Sanguine Tigers here in the red, and they pretty much just advanced along this route and then cut across here. And that was pretty much their approach. They were trying to stay on the edge of the map, trying not, I think, to get brawled up on. Didn't have a whole lot of scouting going on. They're just kind of moving blind. It was, I think, a very risky maneuver. It almost paid off for them, though. Black Spikes had their light spawn out here, and I think they did in some initial scouting here, but didn't catch the movement which was going on in the low ground. The main forces came from here and here, grouped up sort of near the bottom of the platform, and eventually shifted into the city near where the Epsilon point is. And this is where I started talking about. I'm surprised that when they were here and Sanguine Tigers was about here, the match could have been over if they'd spotted it a little bit earlier. It would have just been a complete massacre because all they needed to do was just push in through the city, and there was nothing for Sanguine Tigers to do. There's no way that with their slow mechs they could hope to get rotated out far enough into the water to get, really good punishment of their brawlers. And as it turned out, they still weren't. They got spotted part of the way along this transition. And right here is where the fight went down, this sort of general area, right where Theta would normally be.
Yeah, and I feel like they stalled a couple of times on the movement. If they had continued to move even under fire, they could have stretched it out into deep C1 territory, which would have gave them more of an advantage, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
But how much of one? Would it matter? I feel like they got.
And one of the things that we talked about was that Stalker S. It does not have a very good torso twist. You get over 10 degrees extra from switching to the Stalker F for no penalty. And one of the things that it's able to do better than the Stalker S is shoot on the move. If you're trying to move in one direction and shoot people coming at you from a slightly different one, that extra bit of torso twist angle can help. I don't know what caused them to get held up the way they did, but that may have been a contributing factor, and that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yep. All in all, though, that's really what it boils down to. It was a great set of games. I enjoyed casting it.
Well, before we wrap it up, I do want to talk about the brawl itself, because I did see a couple interesting things go down other than sort of the stalled out movements.
Okay.
As I was saying during the fight, the Embers for black spikes dove into the middle of the Sanguine Tigers formation very early on, and were basically speed taking. They were attracting a lot of fire and not dying. I believe part of that may have been because they were fighting out in the water, and most players try to kill embers through their legs because that's the most efficient way to kill them, because it's very hard to control where on the torso you hit them. But if their legs are in the water, it A, makes it harder to see, and B, mitigates a significant portion of laser and especially missile damage. So that may have been really crucial in terms of them drawing a lot of fire while the Atlases advanced without taking as much damage as they potentially could have been. Meanwhile, Sanguine Tigers, their lights got split up a bit, and one of them dove straight into the middle of the enemy team and pretty much got instantly killed. And that's a huge liability in a brawl because your lights are so important in terms of being able to get damage on enemy stragglers, get damage in spots where the enemy is prepared for it.
To that, though, is that black spikes had a lot more just sheer punch, brawling capable punch. When you looked at, like, a lot of one and done, I guess is really what I'm trying to say, type weapons. Whereas if you look at Sanguine Tigers, they did not. They had Gauss Rifle. Other than that, they had mostly DPS or duration-based weapons.
Yeah,
that also makes it harder to down.
The ER large laser is definitely not a DPS weapon.
No, but it's
duration.
duration.
A lot of those. Yeah.
So, you know, both those factors, either duration-based weapons or DPS-based weapons that don't do a lot of damage in a single blow, actually makes it harder to kill embers.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that they fought in the water.
Yeah, and they were just heavier too. I mean, you have Stalkers and a Highlander against Atlases and Banshees. I mean, that's just more armor, more firepower coming at you, especially with the close range weapons they have. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you're going to bring a longer range comp, you need to be able to shoot them before they get into close range. And if you can't do that, you're not going to win the fight. And Black Spikes did a good job of closing in before Sanguine Tigers was able to get enough space, get enough opportunities to get free damage in. There definitely was a little bit of free damage on the approach, but it wasn't nearly enough to mitigate what Black Spikes had in terms of close range punch.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that concludes our review of the final match. Good games to Black Spikes. Congratulations on your victory. Good games to Sanguine Tigers, and thank you to Sanguine Tigers for setting up this league. I do believe, if memory serves, that they are responsible for the league in the first place. And I'm sure
yes,
they appreciate
you.
That'll be all for us for now. Peter, thank you for showing up and doing the cast. It was a lot of fun. Hope to see you guys again soon. This will be on YouTube before too long, so if you enjoyed the show, please, of course, hit follow down below so you can see what we're doing. You can also check out our Twitter, our Facebook, and our YouTube and follow all of those so you can get information from us as we do things. There are things upcoming here soon, very important and big changes. So I hope everyone enjoyed the show, and I'll be glad to do it again. Check back later. Absolutely. Someone may be streaming. So
absolutely. Thanks. Thank you, everyone, for watching us.
Yep. See y'all later.